regular council meeting, June the 11th. First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Is there no additions?
Yes, there are a couple of additions. Number one is summer meetings, should be probably 9J.
Mm-hmm.
Received a couple of district community grants. Pubnico Point Trails Association
Yeah.
and request from District 5 and Pubnico Church. I'm just trying to locate the letters. Here's the District 5. Yeah, so Pubnico Church, Pubnico Point Trails Association, and just trying to find the District 5 letter. Was it?
Also-
Oh, sorry, okay, sorry, Councillor Albright has the letter.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I've seen it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So those would be under District Community.
Okay. We'll add
And-
that on to the agenda.
Go ahead.
Councillor LeBlanc.
Not to add something to agenda, but item under financial request, district community grants, 11A, number 8. The Westport Tuna Museum has informed me as of today, I sort of forgot to mention this when they applied, the district community grant was solely requested if provincial funding was coming in and to host this event, and the provincial funding was denied. So they're no longer in requirement of the district community grant at this time.
Okay,
So you can remove that item.
all right. We have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Conflict of interest declaration. Anybody around the table has a conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda? Yes.
Well, I'm not exactly sure if it's a conflict, but when it comes to the YASTA bylaws, I guess in the past and now I do have a contract with YASTA for living wharfs. Just want to make sure, I don't know if it's a conflict or not with the bylaw, but just want to declare that in case, you know.
I'd have, in order to be able to clearly address that, I'd need a bit more time, so I think erring on the side of caution is probably more prudent at this point in time, in order to be able, yeah, and especially you have a contract with YASTA. It's consideration of their bylaws, so the issue may not render a conflict of interest. It's not the rendering of a contract or the rendering of a grant or anything of that nature.
No.
It's more a consideration of bylaws, and not sure what's going to happen with that item tonight in any event. So,
Yes.
we'll deal with that. But I think my recommendation would be that the warden should take that into consideration at the time and make a proper determination when the issue arises at that point in time as to whether or not there's a conflict with the item that as it's being discussed.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you. Okay, if there's no other, we'll go on to a presentation. We have a presentation by CSAP, Sharon Southern. You may take the stand.
Merci beaucoup.
And,
Bonsoir tout le monde.
If you want to introduce your colleagues, you may, please.
Oui, avec plaisir. Je vous présente Madame Darcy Maya, et Darcy est l'animatrice des Écoles Plus. Elle a un bureau à l'École secondaire de Paramba. Puis Darcy est une travailleuse sociale de formation. Puis avec Darcy, il y a Jessica Dale. Et Jessica est également une travailleuse sociale qui travaille avec Darcy à l'École secondaire de Paramba. Ça fait que j'explique leur rôle et leurs responsabilités à travers la présentation.
Okay.
Alors, le but de la présentation ce soir, c'est juste pour vous sensibiliser. C'est à titre d'information, parce que je sais, comme à titre de conseiller municipal, vous êtes souvent approché par des familles qui cherchent de l'aide, de l'appui, et des familles parfois qui sont peut-être en misère. Ça fait que ça, c'est une option après la présentation, vous pourrez possiblement référer des familles au programme des Écoles Plus dans la région d'Argyle. Ça fait que je pense à travers la présentation et si vous avez des questions, les femmes ou moi-même, on peut essayer de répondre. Alors moi, j'ai prié, il y a 30 ans que je suis en éducation, et j'ai prié pour 30 ans pour avoir des travailleuses sociales dans les écoles. Alors que finalement, la prière a été répondue en 2011. Alors, je suis très, très, très fière de ça. Alors, École Plus, c'est quelque chose qu'on appelle un modèle de service intégré. Alors, en anglais, ça s'appelle un Integrated Service Model. Et c'est quelque chose qui existe ailleurs dans le monde. Ça existe au Royaume-Uni. Ils appellent ça des Full Service Schools. À Toronto, ils appellent ça des Full Service Schools aussi. Aux États-Unis, ils appellent ça des Communities in School. Nouveau-Brunswick appelle ça le cadre de prestation intégrée de service. Puis, le Schools Plus ou École Plus, c'est quelque chose qui a été basé sur un programme qui existe à Saskatchewan. Alors, c'est là que la Nouvelle-Écosse a pris leur modèle. Malheureusement, parfois, ça prend des événements tragiques dans la province pour arriver à quelque chose de bon. Alors, c'est ça qui arrivait exactement dans le cas des Écoles Plus. Alors, l'incident, c'était en 2004, et vous vous rappelez peut-être de ça, qu'en 2004, il y avait un accident tragique qui arrive à Halifax, et c'est un jeune qui s'appelait Archie Billard. Et Archie Billard était un jeune qui avait eu beaucoup de difficultés dans sa jeunesse. Puis il était à Waterville, puis il est sorti de Waterville sur une erreur technique. Puis le lendemain, il avait 16 charges contre lui pour toutes sortes de choses. Et cette journée-là, il avait volé une voiture, il n'avait pas de permis de conduire, il avait consommé des drogues, puis il a causé un accident qui a causé la mort d'une aide-enseignante qui était sur sa pause du midi à Halifax, qui s'appelle Teresa McAvoy. La famille des McAvoy, c'est une famille qui a réussi d'avoir l'oreille du gouvernement. Et suite à ça, ce qui arrivait, c'est qu'on a eu l'enquête Nunn. La justice Merlin Nunn a été retenue par la province pour faire une enquête de l'accident. Alors, la commission Nunn a recommandé une meilleure coordination et collaboration entre agences. Parce que ce qui arrivait dans le cas d'Archie Billard était suivi par la police, ministère de la Justice, des agents de probation. Il y avait les services de toxicomanie, les services de santé mentale, l'école. Mais malheureusement, ces agences-là n'étaient pas capables de se partager de l'information pour des raisons de confidentialité. Ça fait que la justice Nunn, lui, a décidé qu'il fallait avoir un modèle de service intégré où l'école, l'élève est au centre, la famille est autour de l'élève, l'école est autour de la famille et l'élève, puis ensuite la communauté et les agences sont autour de tout le monde. Ça, c'est la stratégie pour les enfants et les jeunes de la Nouvelle-Écosse, la Child and Youth Strategy. Puis une des recommandations de la Child and Youth Strategy était de mettre en place un modèle des écoles plus dans la province de la Nouvelle-Écosse. Alors, ça a commencé avec 4 conseils scolaires en 2008. Alors, les conseils scolaires, le Halifax Regional avait 16 écoles, le Strait avait 5 écoles, le South Shore avait 6 écoles, puis le Chignecto Central avait 6 écoles. Alors, c'est eux autres qui ont commencé à mettre en place le modèle. Ça fait que, suite à plusieurs évaluations, une recommandation a été faite de faire l'expansion du programme des écoles plus. Alors, en 2011-2012, les 4 conseils scolaires de la province qui n'avaient pas le programme des écoles plus ont pu faire une demande. Alors, il faut appliquer. Le conseil scolaire a besoin de faire une demande de projet. Et en 2011-2012, on a eu du succès. Alors, au CSAP, on a 6 écoles qui font partie des écoles plus. 2 écoles au Cap-Breton, École Beauport à Arichat, puis École acadienne de Pubnico. Puis l'animatrice des écoles plus, c'est Annette Quillot. Puis il y a une intervenante communautaire, une outreach worker, comme Jess, Megan Turbid et Monica Quigley. Ici, Les écoles, il y a 4 écoles dans la région d'Argyle qui font partie des écoles plus. Alors, c'est par en bas, Wedgeport, Belleville et Pubnico. Puis Darcy et Jess sont le personnel qui est associé au programme. La structure, c'est qu'il y a une coordonnatrice au niveau du ministère de l'Éducation. Ensuite, il y a les Schools Plus Facilitators ou les animatrices des écoles plus, les Outreach Workers, les intervenants communautaires. Puis on a aussi un comité consultatif qui se rencontre à chaque 6 semaines. Puis je vais vous montrer qui fait partie de ce comité-là. Puis ensuite, il y a un comité provincial qui se rencontre une fois par mois avec le ministère de l'Éducation. Et vendredi, c'était notre réunion et on s'est rencontré avec les responsables de la stratégie pour pouvoir parler de ce qui marche bien et ce qui a besoin d'être amélioré. Ça, c'est les gens qui sont sur le comité consultatif. Alors, il y a Janelle Comeau, qui est la gérante des services communautaires à Yarmouth, Jill-Marie Jacquard, qui est la superviseure des services communautaires, Tom Cormier, qui est un agent de probation avec le ministère de la Justice, Yvon McCauley pour la justice réparatrice, James Clayseco de la GRC, qui est l'agent de liaison, Linda Jacquard de la Pirouette, Ginette D'Entremont, votre employée ici, Melissa Doulon de Juniper House, Roxane Godat de Toxicomanie, Alice Ladurantais de Santé publique, Brian Marchand des écoles santé, Brent Surette, qui est la direction de Paramba, Tanya Comeau, qui représente la stratégie pour les enfants et les jeunes, et Darcy et moi-même. C'est ça notre comité qui se rencontre. Puis le but de tout ça, c'est pour partager et échanger de l'information. Alors, c'est quoi les programmes qui sont en train d'être offerts par le département de loisirs, qu'est-ce que l'École santé fait, qu'est-ce que Toxicomanie fait, qu'est-ce qui s'en vient, juste pour qu'on soit au courant et qu'on puisse s'entraider pour faire des différents projets. Le financement des écoles plus, c'est ça qui est intéressant. C'est possiblement la plus grande somme qu'on a dans les services aux élèves au CSAP. Alors, c'est un financement de 125 000 $ par site, basé sur un salaire de 65 000 pour une travailleuse sociale, un salaire d'environ 40 000 pour un outreach worker, puis un budget opérationnel d'une vingtaine de $1000. Alors, l'engagement de la province de la Nouvelle-Écosse, l'engagement pour le CSAP, c'est un engagement de 500 000 $, qui veut dire qu'on va avoir 4 sites pour le CSAP. Et ça va être jusqu'à 2017-2018, avant que ça soit complété. Le plan proposé pour le CSAP, nous autres, la structure des écoles plus, c'est une structure de famille d'école, des families of schools, mais nous autres, on n'a pas cette structure-là au conseil scolaire. Ça fait un peu un défi pour nous, mais la province est divisée en 3 régions, le sud-ouest, le central et le nord-est. Ça fait qu'on va faire 3 sites de 125 000. Puis ensuite, à cause qu'il y a des écoles comme Greenwood, comme Rive-Sud, comme Truro, qui sont isolées, ce qu'on va faire, on va utiliser le dernier 125 000 pour mettre des outreach workers à ces endroits-là. Puis si on est chanceux, on trouvera peut-être des travailleurs sociaux comme Jess qui seront intéressés de combler ces postes-là. C'est ça notre plan. Les objectifs de réduire ou d'éliminer des lacunes dans les programmes maintenant, d'identifier des jeunes et des familles qui ont des besoins, d'élaborer des programmes et de fournir des services. Puis je vais aller à ici, qui vous intéressera peut-être. Pour la région d'Argyle, lorsqu'on a travaillé avec le comité pour essayer d'identifier les besoins qui ont été identifiés pour la région d'Argyle étaient les services de santé mentale. Et historiquement, ça a toujours été un défi d'avoir des services en français et un défi de retenir le personnel, parce qu'on dira que ça rentre et ça sort dans ce département-là. Des structures de soutien pour les élèves qui ont des problèmes de santé chroniques, des maladies chroniques. De la part des parents, les parents nous ont demandé pour de l'aide dans le domaine de l'alimentation. Ça, c'est des enfants qui ne mangent pas bien, des enfants qui sont obèses, des enfants qui ne sont pas en santé. Ça, c'est quelque chose qui a été relevé. Des services pour les enfants en âge de fréquenter l'école. Puis ensuite, parce qu'il y a beaucoup de services qui sont avant que l'école rentre, l'élève rentre à l'école, puis une fois qu'ils sont à l'école, les services sont arrêtés. Puis ensuite, le transport. Alors, si tu habites à Queenan ou si tu habites sur l'île Surette et que tu n'as pas de transport, c'est difficile de venir à l'école pour avoir des services. Ça fait essentiellement, je crois que je vais peut-être arrêter là. Puis il y a le site web des Écoles Plus, ça fait si vous voulez aller vous trouver plus d'informations, vous pouvez. Alors, je ne sais pas si vous avez des questions ou des commentaires.
Merci, c'est une bonne présentation. Il y a quelqu'un qui a des commentaires ou des questions?
Les Écoles Plus, c'est quelque chose comme... Il y a des services dans les écoles. Alors, on dit toujours à l'école, si que d'habitude vous auriez référé cet enfant ici à la conseillère en orientation, c'est là que ça devrait encore aller. C'est que l'élève devrait être référé à la psychologue scolaire, c'est là que ça devrait encore aller. Même qu'on a les services d'École Plus dans l'école, il faut encore suivre les processus comme qu'on a toujours fait. Quand ça vient au-delà, parce que vous savez aussi bien que moi, dans des familles, que c'est très, très, très complexe, puis quand ça va au-delà de ce qu'une école peut offrir, c'est là qu'on ramasse. Puis c'est des travailleurs sociaux, ça fait, ils peuvent aller travailler dans les maisons, et ils peuvent transporter des élèves à des rendez-vous, et ils peuvent organiser des services pour les familles. Ça fait, c'est plutôt pour ces gros cas-là. Puis garantir les Archie Billard par en bas, il n'y en a pas trop. OK? C'est des petits paradis, nos écoles secondaires, ou des climats sains, et ça va très, très bien. Mais ce que je trouve que les femmes sont en train de faire, c'est plutôt des choses de prévention. C'est pour essayer de prévenir des choses plus tard. Ça fait beaucoup d'activités sur l'heure du midi, beaucoup d'activités après l'école, beaucoup d'activités dans l'été. Pendant le congé de mars, l'école est encore ouverte. Puis ce monde-là est encore là pour essayer de les tirer hors du trouble. Ça, c'est un gros travail de ça que je suis en train de faire dans les écoles.
Cathy, Bourque, peut-être?
Répondre à ma question, c'est que je pense que c'est congé d'été, là, puis
Exactement.
on fait des services pour ces enfants, c'est surtout pour la santé
Ouais.
mentale.
C'est ça.
Parce qu'il faut continuer leur...
Le problème, ça va pas l'été.
Non.
Exactement.
Des fois, ça peut remplir.
Ouais. Puis le but essentiel qu'on essaie d'avoir, c'est que l'élève puisse recevoir les services à l'école. Ça fait que maman et papa n'ont pas besoin de prendre du temps off de l'après-midi pour emmener l'enfant à l'hôpital pour des services, que l'élève pourra avoir des services à l'école. Ça fait. Et je vois déjà quelques services qui sont rentrés dans l'école et dans les écoles élémentaires aussi. Mais le but, c'est ça que c'est, que ça devient ce qu'on appelle la full service school. C'est intéressant.
Je suis plutôt curieux plus que n'importe quoi. Depuis que vous avez introduit des social workers dans les écoles, voyez-vous une différence dans les élèves, dans leur comportement ou dans leur réussite scolaire?
Voulez-vous répondre?
Peut-être pour vous autres. Oui.
Oui, comme quand tu vois un élève de la... Quand je vois un élève de la plus... Moi, une petite école qui avait tous les problèmes, comme toutes les petites choses, ça flip out, ça freak out. Austérité, ok, moi je me sens frustrée. Alright, alors deal avec ça, comme à la place de...
Okay,
tu sais,
different strategy.
ouais.
Comment dealer.
Puis on m'a dit, moi, tu veux venir à l'école parce que là, du fun stuff à faire. Vous avez à l'école, c'était quoi, your thing? Non, c'est puis venir parce qu'ils savaient que le club va leur du midi. C'est OK, alors, du pizza. Tu sais, ça les fait venir, puis ça les fait aller en classe.
Ça va le voir.
C'est des petites choses, puis il faut célébrer les petites choses dans ma classe.
Ça coûte,
Alors, quand même, non, ma frère, non, ça va.
ça coûte 125 000 pièces en pizza,
Ouais.
le midi.
Ça, il y a une pizza. Les amène toutes là.
Councillor Muse, un comment ou une question?
Juste une question. Tu as dit qu'on avait 4 d'Argyle, 4 écoles.
Oui.
Et puis c'était chaque 125 000 pièces pour
Non.
chaque école.
C'est à site que 125 000.
Oh, puis il va y avoir 4 sites
3
Right
sites.
on.
dans le CSAP.
Oui,
Dans-
pour 500 000 pièces.
Pour 500
Non,
000 pièces.
au niveau
Donc,
provincial.
Provincial.
C'est ça fait 21 écoles.
OK, c'est la
Provincial.
phrase que tu as dit. Ça, puis jusque le site va être pour Argyle.
Les autres sont déjà à l'école de Paramba.
C'est à l'école de Paramba.
Ça fait
Sur les-
2 ans que je suis là.
Sur les élèves de toutes les autres écoles, si vous avez des problèmes aussi, vous avez des questions, venons.
Moi, je vais
Il y a
Toi, tu vas à l'école.
C'est ça.
OK,
Ouais,
tu,
sur
tu,
l'école,
tu,
et-
OK,
Yeah.
Ouais.
Et des contacts, des emails,
C'est
ouais,
ça.
OK.
Et juste pour comparer Tri-County, leur site aujourd'hui est à Digby. Alors Digby High, Barton, Weymouth. Puis eux autres, leur deuxième site va être à Barrington. Alors puis nous autres, je suis en attente pour notre expansion d'École. Ça fait que je vais pas su encore les résultats de nos demandes.
OK.
Ça fait. OK,
Charette?
merci.
If a student is, or if a person is English but lives in the municipality of Argyle, and he's English and he would like to go to a school, CSAP structure, the school system, would you work with somebody that's English or is only French is what you deal with? It's a CSAP and that's it.
École Plus can only work with students from CSAP.
Okay, that's the mandate that you've got, yeah.
Yeah.
But les autres écoles ont leur
They have their program.
program
They
also.
have the same thing.
Or they will, yeah.
Right on, thank you.
OK, merci.
Nicole? Albright.
Merci. Je voulais juste dire, je pense que c'est un excellent programme. Question que moi j'ai, parce que je suis enseignante aussi, donc je vois que les problèmes avec les élèves, ça devient de pire en pire. Si vous avez des élèves qui font partie des différents programmes que vous avez-vous besoin de notifier les parents?
Oui, ça que c'est, sur le fait l'offre de 18, je vais poser le consentement des parents, mais en ouvrir ça toute l'offre de 12, on a vraiment besoin. Mais nous autres, on le fait de n'importe quoi toute l'offre de 12, on demande à la famille à être impliquée. Parce que ça, moi j'ai vu, c'est que si on n'implique pas la famille, je peux faire toutes sortes de beaux travail à l'école, mais quand ils les envoient dans le même environnement, il n'y a rien qui change là. Puis souvent, l'enfant a beaucoup de services, mais la famille n'a rien. Donc, c'est là quand je peux rentrer pour vraiment travailler avec la famille, puis avoir des suggestions d'autres professionnels, des professionnels de la famille pour les aider. Donc, souvent, tous les fois, je demande aux parents à signer le formulaire de consentement avec l'élève, comme les deux dire. So, les chances que ton enfant est sur le programme que vous savez pour
Merci.
Merci. S'il n'y a personne d'autre, merci beaucoup pour la présentation.
Ça fait
Thank you.
plaisir.
I think Réal,
J'avais mon information là aussi. Avoir des cadeaux. Avoir des pizzas, aller pour dire.
la pomme de pizza.
Non, c'est mal.
The soft restaurant.
Vous allez tout ça.
Do the wrong best.
C'est en train, c'est pas de freak out.
Merci Sharon et Darcy.
Merci beaucoup, Sharon.
Yeah,
Et d'autres questions, envoyez-moi un coup de
okay. Yeah. To Sharon. All right. Back on the agenda ici. All right, la deuxième présentation arrive point, ça. You know, adoption of minutes, I guess, French mode, he said. First meeting minutes, Emergency Measures Organization, February the 6th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Planning Advisory Committee of March the 7th. Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Emergency Measures Organization of April the 3rd.
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Tusket Sewer Committee of May the 7th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. West Pubnico Sewer Committee, May the 9th.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Regular council meeting of May the 14th.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's carried. Budget meeting of May the 14th. Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. And like I said many times, these minutes are available for anybody here on our website, or if you want, anybody wants to come in and have a look at any of these minutes, ask the staff, and they're all here available. Next item, business arising from the minutes. Municipal boundary review. I guess we're not going to discuss that tonight yet.
We've placed that on the end of June meeting,
Yes,
as we'll have a bit more time to discuss it at that
yes, yeah,
meeting.
yeah. So that's tabled for the committee of the whole meeting, which is, what's the date of that meeting?
That would be the last June of the month, which is last Tuesday of June, last June of the month of June, the 25th of June.
25th, yeah.
Yeah, there is only one June in June.
Yeah, only one June this year?
It's all month, it's
Yeah.
this June all month.
All right, good. And road name committee.
That's actually on the agenda for discussion.
What?
That one is on the agenda for today.
Yeah. This was something that Lucien asked for. Do you want to speak to it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, I received requests to formulate a road name committee. This would be an ad hoc committee that the municipality would recognize. I know I previously talked about it. I went back, got a little more information. The actual members of the committee are to be determined. They would like one representative from the municipality. I will gladly step forward and do so. Basically, what they're asking for to prevent further confusion and to not waste further of council's time like we have in the past here with the road name issues. They would like to be consulted prior to approving road name change or a sign change or something like that. So basically what they're asking is that the staff recognizes them as the sort of go-to people for a bilingual translation of the signs, and that they be consulted prior to bringing it to a meeting here. And I guess all they're looking for tonight is a motion that we approve such a committee. And I am going to make that motion now, that we recognize that this committee be formulated as soon as we can make it possible, I guess.
How are these people going to be chosen?
Sorry, I should have elaborated a little more on that. Sort of at the head of this committee is Peter Boudreau from Westport, as well as Clyde de Villers from Capeb. And Clyde, I believe, is currently being consulted quite often with the French aspect to sign it. So actually, nothing would change per se as process very much, just that they'd like to be recognized, and that it's sort of a formal process that they're consulted, as well as there would be more members on the board other than Clyde type thing. Peter, as well as I believe they both, I had a meeting with both of them, and they had a few people in mind. They just haven't contacted those people yet. That's why I'm not saying any names tonight.
Yeah.
But I fully trust them in choosing the right individuals.
You don't need many anyway on the committee.
No, it's not something that you need 10 people on, and the only reason they would want myself there if there was ever an issue, or you have to bring back information to council or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'll gladly do so. I'm not looking to be reimbursed either for mileage or anything like that. It's nothing of the sort. So it's a straightforward issue, I guess.
Okay. Councillor Albright.
I guess the only question I had was, like, reading through what the committee is responsible for, ensure bilingual signage, especially in known Acadian villages. I just kind of find that that's a little, who decides that? Who decides what's considered an Acadian, a known Acadian village? So, because I think about the municipality of Argyll, is Quinnen considered a community that is Acadian or not? Is Argyll considered a community that's Acadian or not? That's just kind of the only thing that came to my mind. Curious about that.
That's a good question. To be honest, I can't answer you. I'm not going to be the judge of what's an Acadian. I believe.
But who is? That's kind of what I'm wondering.
Yeah, I believe they were sort of emphasizing there just they're proud to be Acadian more than anything. But just where need be a bilingual sign, I believe it's up to maybe Councillor Muse can elaborate a little more on that, just given his past history. But where it's decided that a bilingual sign will be placed, I believe they want to be consulted prior that we approve the sign name. I think that's essentially.
I totally understand that they want to make sure the spelling is correct and get that. It's just that whole part when I read that about.
That's a good question.
Why not
I
have
don't
all
claim
the
that.
roads, all the signs?
I think you'd make a lot of
Bilingual.
people really happy if that was the case, but I believe that
Yeah.
it's sort of, just from what I've witnessed, it's sort of, for lack of better terms, it's sort of willy-nilly where there's a bilingual sign and where there isn't. One side of the road's got it, the other side doesn't. One village has it.
Yeah.
The other village that's just as bilingual doesn't. So I'm not the judge of that, and I'm not going to be. Just where the request is either in French or bilingual, they would like to be consulted. And they're happy to form this committee.
Thank you. One of my concerns is just wondering, if this committee comes up with, their interpretation, and it's not, exactly the interpretation that the citizens that live on, let's say, the road have, how are we all gonna,
Well, I believe the way we go about doing things wouldn't essentially change with the petition and how that works. I don't think they're looking to change the name. It's more so the spelling and the punctuation and all those issues. Just they're not looking to name roads. They're looking to make sure the roads, the names that people have chosen, are printed correctly on the sign. I guess that's.
Petit chemin, that's the petit jacquard.
I do recall such an issue in the past, short past here. Yes, exactly.
Right. Sure.
I'll just finish myself by saying that it still has to come to council anyhow. So-
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's, to me, that's fair ball, and we can certainly, if some people don't agree with it or have heard anything from their community, they can bring it at the table. That's just a comment I had.
Thank you. Anything else? You all heard the motion?
Just,
Oh,
oh,
yes.
it's okay. From the Conseil, the CAPEB has been involved with the council in the past in terms of changing or bilingualizing certain signs. And they had a 2 or 3 phase program that they wanted to implement, and we're still, I think we finished phase 1, but there's still some signs that could be changed. And this was asked of, I'm saying this for the benefit of the newer councillors as well. This request came to the municipality, and in our conversations with the Department of Transportation, they certainly were very forthcoming when the translation of the road might be Chemin Tittle Road as opposed to Tittle Road. That's never a problem and never required a petition. Where you're changing the name from maybe Tittle Road to Chemin de la Petite Île, that is actually a change that requires consultation from the public. And I think the CAPEB was very, very aware of that. And we focused on, in the first phase of the changes, we focused on roads that they had identified that were quickly bilingualized by either adding chemin or actually using the actual name as opposed to a translated name. Some of the French names were reverted or misspelt, so some of those changes have already occurred. So we've asked the Department of Transportation to give us an update as to where that stands, where that project stands, which ones were changed, which ones are left, because we provided them with a list. So they know which ones they changed. And I suspect that part of the work of this committee would be to engage in that process, and of course would have to come back here. Yeah. But that's the intent. They certainly have the intent to, I guess, franciser or bring more French in the communities. So I just want to give the history behind some of that.
Councillor Muse?
Are the signs going bilingual or just French? I seem to have seen signs that are just French, not bilingual. But that's just in the Acadian villages, as was mentioned there. Because I remember when I was working, I mean, this was quite a few years ago, we had to do our signs bilingual in the municipality, and I don't know if the request had come from the municipality at that time or not, but we had to put both names on the signs. We had them in French and English, and in some cases it was, I mean, it made for large signs for, you know, but what we're talking about here, I think, it's not a bilingual sign, it's a French sign indicating villages, as you were talking there, as you asked about where these Acadian villages are. I don't think there's any French conversion signs in Argyll, or they're all English, are they? I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, yes, I really don't take much notice. In Spring Haven, you'll see like the, I call it channel, CH, and then road after that.
Yeah, because they used to have CA
Less abbreviations.
and the name road, and sometimes they didn't even translate it in French. They, you know,
That's right.
chemin, you know, or, well, they might have had it, chemin neuf, and then there were some signs that would say chemin whatever road, and it was a little
Well,
confusing.
I happen to live on one of those roads that only French.
It's only in French. Yes.
Yeah.
I know, I've noticed
Chemin
that.
de l'Allée. I don't know what you'd call it in English. Never,
But
it's
it
never
was-
been called
But it was like
anything in
that.
English.
But it was like that. It's always been like that. though.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
when I was.
Yeah, okay. Richard?
I'm not against any of this, I just wonder how long it takes it to get through the system, like the provincial mapping system into the databases that we'll say like the Garmins or the TomToms use to update their mapping system, so primarily that's what delivery people use now, delivery trucks. I mean, if it takes, how long is it before it actually comes into the system, where it causes a problem?
Yeah, well, most of the names have not changed. It's just add chemin in front, like say CH in front. It shouldn't create a problem, but
We'll say, we'll use Wedgeport, for example, if they decided to become the first community to name all their signs, like to the French, right? I just wondered how long it would take to get, so
Oh, yeah.
delivery people would know where they were going.
I think, I'm not 100% sure how long it takes for that change to occur, but I know one of the first changes is under EHS.
Maybe it's something
first.
this committee should, that should be one of their first questions, and to find out how long that, because you don't want to rush into something too quick until you know what you're doing.
If it's a name change, the first change that occurs is at the EHS level, and then the civic everything, the databases at the provincial level get one of the first changes. But how that translates into Garmin and other types of like Google or whatever.
Or even emergency services locally, like.
Yeah, it's certainly a fast change, and what they also do, and I know this only because of Tittle Road, is that they hold that road name if it's changed. So if somebody calls in an emergency, says that they live in the Tittle Road, even if the road name says Chemin du Bas de l'Île, that secondary name is an identified name in that. So and I don't know how long they hold that in the system, but I know that they do for a period of time. So the whole safety around road change is always a concern, and but that's my understanding how it works.
It was just a question of curiosity, that's all.
yeah. Well, I don't think they plan on making major changes. It's just LeBlanc.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. The mandate for this committee would not be on top of the project that I believe the CUPEB already has in play, like Alain said, to eventually change road signs. It's already been done, being done. Their mandate would just to be contacted prior to bringing the road name to council. A matter of a half-hour ordeal type thing to send them the road name, for them to verify the spelling, punctuation, etc. is correct, and send it back to our staff before being put on our agenda. Simple as that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, you all heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next item, Warden's report. Skip over that quickly. Yesterday, I didn't add that because I sent it in last Friday, but Alain and I had a meeting yesterday at noontime with the deputy ministers from the province. Were in town for meetings. We were invited there to have lunch with them, and it was good. Had a chance to, we had 6 tables and 2 or 3 per table, so we had a chance to talk quite a bit. Simon D'Entremont, Simon Paul had organized to have them down here at the Grand for their meetings, and so good. We had got a few words from our minister responsible for municipal affairs, and the deputy minister, I mean. Yeah, that was good. Councillors report. Any councillors have a report to make? Yes, Surratt.
Just to let council know that I went to the municipal alcohol project up in Truro a couple of weeks ago, and it was a very good meeting. It was attended by a lot of people from the Southwest region, people from Cape Breton, Halifax area. Anyhow, I bet you that would be the 54 or 52 units. We would have been probably about 30, 32 units.
Yeah.
Were there, and Truro is really big into it. Truro and East Hants, they're really into this. And I'll just read you a few things some notes I took down. I'm not going to drag this on. At our table, we were separated in tables, and to ask what our ideas was, what we could do as a municipality, as a small unit. What can you do? Like we're not the big picture, but what can we do? And we could make a motion to ban alcohol at any and all functions, banquets, and that in our own municipality. We could get youth involved. We already have a youth project, as these youths in school that Brenda, Scott, and a few others are into, and ask them what they think about alcohol, their experiences, what's going on out there. We shouldn't have. We should think about it, not to have any, let's say, a banquet for the firemen, not naming the Molson Canadian banquet. Try to keep those names out of there. These are the small things that we could do to maybe make a little difference. You never know. Dr. Robert Strang was there. He is the head medical officer for Nova Scotia. He spoke to us for about 15-20 minutes. Good work from him. Some other things, just quickly, we're asking the UNSM to make a resolution to bring to the UNSM, to the people that are at the next UNSM meetings, to let them know that what alcohol does to medical care. That's what Dr. Strang told us. You have no idea how much it costs in the province of Nova Scotia. What the end cost is. It's not only somebody dying, but it's the health care that it costs. If we could maybe even slack it off by 10%, the drinking, by doing small things. So anyhow, that's something that'll be coming up at the UNSM, and hopefully we could approve once it's passed on and it's been sent to the municipality. We'll have a reading of it at council, on the council meetings, and we endorse it and send it back to UNSM for the annual meeting. And basically I sent to Chris, sent a little bit of information to you guys.
Yes, I saw that, yeah. Actually, I was talking to a lady that was involved in somewhat, and she said that she was talking to Larry Phillips, and he said he was very, very impressed with Guy Surratt, his input at the meeting, and yeah, he was good. And one thing that you mentioned, like last year when we had the Acadian Games, that's one thing that I think the committee had decided not to take any money from any booze company at all. No,
Let's
So,
just do our little part, I guess, if we can.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Kathy Bourque?
Yeah, just wanted to mention that I attended the A.M. Clark, we had a public meeting there, and we had quite a few people that came, and they were quite impressed with the clinic. So they showed them around, and we had a little presentation of what the doctor recruitment does, and they were quite impressed, people that did show up there. And I'd like to thank the Recreation Department for putting on the walks for our trails. It was a trail day, and we had one in East Pubnico, there was one in Tusket, I believe. And I think they all went very well. And the one in East Pubnico was well attended. So I thank the Recreation Department for putting that on.
Good, thank you. Donaldson?
Yes, the night before the A.M. Clark opening, which I feel bad I didn't make, I couldn't make. I would like to have been there, but the night before was the official opening of the Glenwood Park, and it had a relatively good turnout. And I made a small speech that Brenda helped me with, and she didn't give herself any credit, but the project would never ever have got off the ground if it hadn't been for Brenda. So thanks goes to her for that. And I've had a lot of positive comments now that people have started using it, especially on my own personal Facebook page. So it's nice to open up Facebook and see something like that from time to time. So, and that's the kind of projects I like to see being done. To me, that's one of the real uses for municipal money.
Yeah,
So,
good.
property-related projects.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Albright?
I'm just looking over the list. It was a busy month. I also went to the Glenwood Park opening and the doctor recruitment, the pamphlet, the launching, I guess. And on June 1st, here in Tusket, there was the unveiling of the interpretive panel for Lost at Sea, which is beautiful if you haven't had a chance to stop and see it. On the 16th of May also, I was able to go to the Quinnen Club, the Club des Audacieux, where they were granted some funding for the seniors, and the seniors in Quinnen have started a cribbage night on Friday nights, which is new for them, and they're using part of that funding to do that. And on Friday, which was the 7th, I think, the 7th of June, Councillor LeBlanc and I were invited to have lunch with the youth that were involved in the youth engagement project. So that was really interesting. It would have been nice to have a little more, hear them talk a little more, but they're shy. Right? And we're considered officials. So I get that. I know, it's hard to believe, but we are. Yeah. I think that's everything.
That's it?
I think so.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Callahan?
Thank you. Just again want to thank Council for letting me go to the Partners for Climate Protection, the PCP. It was a 5-milestone training workshop put on by FCM and UNSM, all to do with reducing greenhouse gases in order to slow down climate change. I sent you guys an email. You know, the 5-milestone plan, you know, was just you know, setting your targets and developing a plan and implementing the action plan, monitoring the progress, all in order to hopefully save money through energy efficiency, and hopefully the money that you save can maybe reinvest into maybe something else that'll be more energy efficient and so on and so on. Also, they mentioned in there, building of new municipal buildings that would be, green. That's something that we might have to entertain in the near future. Who knows? They talked about Confit and wind power, which is something on our radar here in the municipality. Sewer systems, we have 2. Talking about another one for 3. Might be some possibilities there. Retrofits, something that was interesting to me as a sports fan and a hockey player, former hockey player, sorry, is they had this I think it was in Saskatoon, a product called Ice Max, which is some kind of solution you put in the water, and when you make ice, the ice freezes at a warmer temperature. Anyway, so right away, I got the information and I emailed it to Gil Ayres at the Mariner Center. So, and apparently he's already passed it on to Dave Clayton, so that's good. They were saying in Saskatoon, by putting this stuff in the water, they were saving somewhere around $4,500 a year. Yeah, so, you know, just some of those things. It was a good networking group, you know, got to meet a lot of interesting people and make some contacts, and hopefully, you know, if in the future, you know, it'll be something that, you know, somebody I can, you know, connect with and maybe help out in whichever way. We also, today I was at the meeting of Bonton, our tourism group here in Argyle, and they asked me if I wanted to be on the Geotourism Stewardship Council. I think we should put it on for next council meeting. I'll have more information and we'll discuss it and we'll see where that goes, okay? So it'll be Geotourism Stewardship Council. Chris? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Muse?
I attended the K. Nickerson AGM today. That's a great organization. I mean, all the residents were there in the meeting. They take part in that meeting. I was surprised. I mean, when they're asked for motion, boy, they're right there. And, oh yeah, you can tell that they're really interested in what they're doing, and it's a great organization for the challenged kids that are there. It's something, you know, it's well run. It's they run at a deficit, of course, for sure, but they still manage to run it, and they managed to help all these kids, and it's amazing what they do there, you know, for sure. And I attended a bunch of meetings as well. Some of the meetings that were mentioned here, I won't mention them all, but through the month. So,
Thank you. There's one thing I should mention too is Natalie Surratt had organized the other Friday a ride with the Warden. And we had a bicycle ride. I think there was about 18 of us. It was good fun. Yeah. We have a group of 40 plus women that bike quite regularly, so they were right into it, and it was all right. We did 16 kilometers or something like that.
Age 40 plus or 40 or more women?
Yeah, age 40. Yeah. I thought of it when I said it. Yeah, that was well organized. I would thank her for that, because you know, she's active living coordinator is working. Yes.
Yeah,
Deputy.
I was actually driving into West Pubnico that night with my car, and all of a sudden, all I could see coming out of the driveways were women on their bikes, all heading to the fire hall. So either they were, you know, coming with me, or once I got by the fire hall, I was meeting them one after the other. So it was pretty interesting, but I knew what was going on. So
We even had a couple from Yarmouth that came down to join us. Yeah, Jack Harding, he's the guy that organizes the Heartlands tour in Yarmouth. Yeah, him and his wife came down. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. CAO's report. Any questions for the CAO? Comments?
That's a quick way of doing it.
Do you have any comments on your report first? Do you want to highlight anything?
I feel like there's nothing I really should highlight.
It's also good.
Oh boy. I'll start by saying this week is AMA. There's the AMA conference is actually hosted in Yarmouth. So I'll be attending some of the morning sessions. Actually, some of our staff have a presentation about our youth engagement initiatives. So it was highlighted as an interesting project, I guess a shared secrets, I think it's called shared secrets session. So really quite pleased that our staff is going to do that presentation. I'm sure it's going to be done with a lot of optimism and exuberance. So I'll be attending a couple of morning sessions. They've asked me to host a forum on Wednesday, tomorrow, from 3 to 5. It's a CAO meeting, and a very kind of loose agenda, just to get the CAOs to network and talk about CAO-related issues. And so that will be happening this week. So I guess that's the future. The CAO's report, I think I'd like to focus on economic development and how the REN is still moving, at a slow pace, but we are trying to determine who's interested and how that's going to proceed. We've yet to meet since we last discussed it with council, so I don't have a lot to report there. And I did get word from the Chris Lowe group that the presentation for the public for the economic development plan, once finalized, will be in July, early July. So we haven't established a date. There was apparently a conflict. It was initially set for the 24th of June. There's a conflict there. Other than that, the auditors have come and gone. For us accountants, that's always a glorious time. And I mean it anyway. There's been a lot of, there hasn't been a lot of meetings since our last get together. So in terms of airport, et cetera, I don't have a lot to report in those areas. But unless there are other questions or anything in particular that councillors like to ask questions about. Sorry, go ahead.
Just the Westport source study, since we're here in a public meeting, do you mind clarifying what you mean here? I take back what I just said. I must have read this somewhere else. I believe, I'm just rereading it here, and I believe there was something to do with the month of July, and I'm realizing it's not in your CEO report here. My apologies.
It's probably in the strategy.
It must be. That's where I read it. Correct.
Yeah. We'd like to get the study in a draft form at least to the community as soon as possible. There have been some delays.
Right.
Because the first crack of the engineers kind of took a crack at it and came back and said, well, what we've done isn't going to work. So you got to go back. You can't, it was too costly. Nobody would be able to afford it. It was actually cheaper to build your own than it was to actually go on a central sewer system. So we said, go try it again. So they did, and they have isolated certain areas that are higher risk. And so we have not seen those changes as of yet. I expect to see them very soon. I still think we're on schedule to deliver at least a draft in July.
Great. That's all I wanted.
Thank you.
Just to add on to Councillor LeBlanc and our CAO, if you look on John Sullivan's report, which was a question I had when Lucia brought that up, with a community meeting as early as June, so that's obviously not right then. It does look like July then.
Well, June is still possible.
Oh, June is still possible.
Is still possible. I'm confident July will happen, but June is still possible.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Yep.
Okay, Albright?
I just had a quick question that I'm not sure if you can answer or not, Mr. Muse. I read here when it comes to doctor recruitment that there were 12 students from Yarmouth High that were interested. Did they make their presentation only to high school students, or is it junior, senior high? Do you know?
Sorry, in reference to?
To the doctor recruitment. It says here that on the 28th of May, it says we have gone to Yarmouth High and made a presentation to 12 students who are considering a career in medicine.
Right.
I just wondered, I know I went to, the first time around, I went to one of the doctor recruitment meetings, and they had kind of discussed the possibility of talking to junior high, because those students who are considering medicine are considering it probably then. Some are, and they had talked about whether or not they were going to be visiting just senior high or junior. I'm just curious, I guess, if it's solely senior high that they're speaking with.
At this time, that's where the focus is. What we see with the doctor recruitment, I see merit in going into the younger, in the younger years, because some are definitely thinking about going into professional medicine. I think the focus is primarily on the senior, but But it would be an interesting exercise to do that, only because it does have an impact on your planning. So if the earlier you make a decision around maybe the DSS program, for example, which is the French santé program that is delivered at Université Saint-Anne, the earlier you know about that, the more likely it's going to influence your behavior. So, I mean, that coming from a complete non-professional in terms of assessing how that actually works. So essentially, there would be value to that. We haven't gone there yet.
Okay.
We've focused our efforts on senior. I will make that point with Brenda, and I'll also bring that up to our HHR committee, our Health Human Resources Committee, who the Chief of Staff, Dr. Casella, and other professionals are actually at the table from a professional standpoint that could probably speak more in a more educated tongue than my own. So we'll make a note to bring that to HHR for their consideration as well. It's a long road, the medical
It is,
side.
definitely. And I mean, that's probably why they're focusing on the high school, but
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if you have those students in junior high who are possibly considering it and you start showing them, you know, these incentives, you know, it may steer them in that direction, you know, just, you know, thinking ahead.
Yeah, and the incentives may not mean a whole heck of a lot, but to know that there's something, like that there's a program, the money may not mean a lot, or maybe it means everything, but the fact that they would be aware that their support is pretty considerable, I think.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate
Okay,
that.
thank you. Deputy?
On that note, I was speaking to Brenda today, I was in the office and I stopped in and she mentioned the 12 that were at Yarmouth High. They also went to Paramba where, and Scott is going to nod yes or no here. I think she said there were 32 at Paramba School who were interested or had gone into the classroom or the venue they had and talked to them about it. And it's either next week or the week after or the end of this week, I forget the date. In 2 days, okay, thank you, Scott. They are going to Drummond Heights. Brenda is to do the same. I don't know if who else is involved there, but I know Brenda is, so, yeah.
Thank you. All right. Any more questions or anything for the CAO on his report? If not, we'll go on to other business. Municipal Scholarship. I think we're somehow kind of at a dead end right now. We don't have any applications this year. I think this is something maybe we should table for the next meeting. It's going to take quite a bit of discussion. Do you have anything to?
I was expecting to talk about it tonight.
Well.
You know, unless it's noise, and it's not a
Okay.
rush.
Well.
Because I'll just say this, the committee looked at the applications and we had 2 applications and they didn't fit into the program that we've got for scholarships. And last year we were only able to give out 1 scholarship because there's only one that fit our criteria, which you have to come from the municipality of Argyll, and you have to be going either to called Paramba and Drumlin Heights. And I guess the committee is looking for guidance, or direction, I should say,
Yeah.
is what we're looking at. And I can maybe just add a couple of things here while we're on the subject. It is $1,000 per scholarship. I just want to be sure that the 3 new members know. It's $1,000 per scholarship, and it's for students who want to pursue a career, who want to pursue by going to a community college. It doesn't have to be Burridge. It could be any community college in the province. I don't think even if they went to a community college in Ontario. By making this scholarship, we were thinking of anybody. This way, if they go to community college, they may get to take a trade and they may stay in our own municipality. Instead of when you go to university, and we're not being biased, university, a lot of times you go somewhere else out of your own place, own district, you know, some teachers, like Nicole, you come back. But a lot of people do go further, but the thinking was community college, hey, they may stay here. So that was the reason, you know, one of the reasons behind the grant, and to help, of course, our students, our municipality. What we've noticed is that We have students in the municipality of Argyle that go to Yarmouth County Memorial High School, or may go to a high school outside our municipality. And we've had some people applying for these scholarships, and you know, although they live in Argyle, they don't go to a different school. We've also got people who live outside of the municipality of Argyle and come to one of our schools, so that doesn't make them, they can apply. And this is what we've found in the past couple of years, so our scholarship is not meeting what it should be doing then, is giving the scholarship to people, you know, in the system. So I guess our question is would you like us to bring you recommendations from the committee? Would you want to have discussion on this at the council level? I guess this is why they've asked me to bring this up at the council level. We can certainly bring up recommendations from the committee, which does happen, but I just thought I'd pass it out here. That's what the committee wanted me to do.
That would probably be a real good way to start the conversation, the debate, you know, if the committee came with recommendations.
2 or 3
probably.
recommendations, and it would give you something to speak
Yeah.
about, or
Okay.
more idea.
Yeah, Albright?
I read through the whole scholarship, the policy and everything, and I understand, like, to me, what I understand is basically we're trying to give an opportunity to municipality of Argyle students, right? But as you said, we have students who are going to Yarmouth High, just as we have Yarmouth students coming to Paramba. I just think that if, this is just my personal opinion, if nobody from Paramba or Drumlin qualifies, why not let those municipality of Argyle students who are attending Yarmouth High, why not let them apply? Why not consider them? Because if the goal is to get them to come back and work in our community, you know, they're from our community anyway, they may not attend, and we don't know why they're not attending our school. There's various reasons. It may be programming, they may have better programming at Yarmouth High for what they want to do. They may be going through a bullying issue, you know, we don't know why they're going to Yarmouth High. So if they are residents of Argyle, and if we have nobody who qualifies from our schools here, from these 2 schools, I think we should let them apply. I think we should consider them.
Well, this
That's
is
just
one of
how
the
I
things
feel.
that came up, and there's no reason why, no reason why you can't have that in the high school in Yarmouth, and if you're a resident of our college, you can apply. If you're not, you can't, maybe, or something, you know. Yeah.
It's a good point, and we'll bring that to the committee, and I'll certainly bring, if this is the wish of council, get some recommendation along with what you said. It's a great point, Nicole. Yes, I would certainly do that.
Muse?
I guess it's in regards to the students that are outside in other schools. That was brought to my attention by residents that do go to other schools, why they were left out from applying for this. And what this person told me, he said, we brought that up to a couple of councillors before, and nothing was ever done, you know, the last couple of years.
It was discussed, but.
It was discussed,
Yeah.
but never, okay. So I just wanted to bring that up. I didn't realize that Councillor Surratt had this, and I had asked to put it on the agenda, actually, so.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, yes, for sure, that's, to me, that's a good idea. I don't think we should leave these
Thank you.
students out.
LeBlanc?
Just very quickly, first off, I agree with Councillor Albright and Councillor Muse. It's slightly, I wouldn't use the word discriminating, but in a tad sense it is. If there are residents of Argyle, I think we should treat them fairly. That's just my opinion. But before we even get that far, what kind of confuses me is why, being on the committee, maybe you can help enlighten this a bit, Councillor Surratt. Why did no one qualify? I teach at community college for a good part of the year, and just last September I noticed 20, 30 students that I recognize personally, and I'm sure there's plenty more from Argyle that I did not recognize, all attending community college. And if I was one of those students, a simple 500-word essay for the chance to get $1,000 off my tuition, it's a no-brainer. I'm just curious, why did no one qualify? Before we even go...
They didn't apply.
Is it a lack of advertising, or...
They did not apply.
Just did not apply?
Yeah, it's given, excuse me if I don't mind you answering, the applications are all sent to the guidance counselor.
Right.
Principal at the schools.
Right.
At Drumlin and Paramba, and they're put there. The students can come there anytime, ask, you're told. But apparently, just making a 500-word essay is just, will not
Not worth
happen.
it.
They will just not do it. And the guidance counselors have told us that's a big sticking point.
Really?
They will, if they have to write something down, it just
Well,
doesn't seem to happen.
On that note,
Yes.
I don't disagree with lessening the rules on. I don't agree with lessening the rules on that. I think a simple 500-word essay
It's not.
is not much for $1,000 off your tuition. I don't think we should change that. But as far as what Councillor Muse and Albright said, if they're from the municipality of Argyle, that's enough for me.
Thank you. Deputy.
Just wondering, Councillor LeBlanc, out of those 20 or 30 that you recognized, were they all coming straight out of high school, or some who were more mature students who maybe went to university for a few years? Should they also get a chance to apply? And how do we notify them? Is it for high school, or is it for, people from Argyle who are taking a course at, community college, right? Thank you.
Yeah, as a living example, one of my sons, sorry to interject, one of my sons went to a trade school, but 2 years out of high school. And this never dawned on me either, and so for example, and that would be one of those examples that Councillor D'Entremont is.
Well, what do you do with the people that are from out of Argyle that come to school to Argyle?
Yeah.
But anyway, it's something maybe the committee should work on.
I've got
I would agree.
I've written down, and yes, I will bring to the committee. We'll bring back a recommendation, and we can discuss it again, if that's okay.
That all right in council? Okay. Operating budget allocation approval.
This is, Mr. Warden, this is just a cleanup situation where, whoops, open the wrong file. Let me see now. There we go. Essentially what has happened is we had a little error on the operating budget that we passed at the last meeting. I'm not suggesting that the motion is incorrect. The motion is correct. The motion was to approve the rates and approve also the expenditures at 7.248 million and 308. The issue was that in taking the cell phone costs and trying to put them all centralized, some of those costs were not included in the budget. So we thought, well, we can do one of two things. We can either bring it to council and change the allocation, or we can not change the budget. Now, we don't typically, this is not something that we have a habit of doing. This is certainly, once the budget is approved, it's approved. This is an allocation issue where we're increasing certain expenses, reducing others to compensate for an error in calculation. And so the net difference is 0. However, my concern would be that for every month until now, until the end of the year, you're going to be presented financial information, and you're going to say, well, why is that different than budget? So, we can do it whatever way council wishes. I guess my recommendation would be it's probably easier to approve this allocation of costs, and in order to, I guess, correct the error on our part. We noticed it almost immediately after you approved it, unfortunately. Typically, we like to notice that before you approve it, but it was noticed soon after. So apologize for the oversight. It was due to the fact that we are moving certain expenses out of departments and actually centralizing them to give you better information. But we didn't, I guess, finish the deal. So I would recommend approval of the budget allocations as presented, unless there were any other questions or concerns about what is being presented here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any comments on that, or any?
Is that on our, I can't find it on my iPad here.
Yeah.
I read it Sunday it was there, but somehow I got the YASTA By-Laws in that.
Oh, can you click the refresh
A
button?
refresh button, okay. Something must have happened there. There it is.
You got it? Okay.
15,300.
So the total increase is 15,300, the total decrease is 15,300.
The other.
Some of them are cell phone accounts that we're just moving from one place to another. Other changes are actually reductions in other expense line items that we now have additional information, so we took advantage of that to reduce those expenses accordingly. So it is a net zero situation.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation as presented. Recommend approval of the budget allocation as presented.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Workplace wellness policy. All had the chance to read it. Are you ready to approve it, or what is the wish of council?
I have a few words to bring up on that. I read through the whole thing. I think there's some good things in there. I think it's great to get the staff involved and to show an example to our community that our staff and then they're interested in being healthy and all that. One thing that I am totally against, and I would like to reject that if there's a vote on it, and I'll be very quick on this. It's the part where it says the Wellness Committee will give a $2,500, sorry, not give, $2,500 interest-free loan over and above the $150. And my point to that is $2,500 they can buy equipment to exercise or to be physically active. And I know it'll be done through the payroll deduction. They have 36 months to pay, and they have to sign an agreement if they quit or they got fired or whatever happened, that they have to repay. But you know what? I feel a couple of things that I feel. Number one, we are going through enough hard times in our municipality with people paying their taxes, with people having a hard time to afford things, and for us to be going out there and putting $2,500 on the table to our staff who are making, and I don't take this in disrespect, are making a darn good wage compared to a lot of people. I don't feel that we should be putting that money out where the taxpayer could be stuck with not being paid, and we're not a bank or a loan institution, and I think the $150, I totally agree with that. I think it's a great idea, even if it's a pair of sneakers, although they should be able to afford a pair of sneakers. But anything else that they'd want, I have no problem with that one. But certainly on the $2,500, interest-free, a loan in itself, I don't think we're a bank, and that's going too far as I'm concerned. With the conditions and the way the economy is and everything with the taxpayers, I don't think this is a good thing to do. That's my comment on that. The rest I agree with, though.
Thank you.
Well,
Deputy?
I guess I saw the $2,500 as an investment in our employees, to keep physically fit. I think it's been proven that people that are fit will come to work more often, will not be as sick. So I guess that's how I saw it. And if they're paying it back, it's it's not like we're losing the money. It's just we're just getting it back. So I guess I didn't see no problem to that. But anyway, that's my opinion.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to speak on that? Yes.
Just from a policy perspective, certainly it's entirely up to council in terms of the amount. It is a repayable loan. We do have another policy that is similar to this. It's the computer purchase policy. A similar situation where it has to be pre-approved, there's a whole process involved, and then the repayment is over a certain period of time. Certainly, if the issue is the amount can be can certainly be debated, discussed. Certainly, I think the 2,500 actually comes from, it may come from, I'm not sure exactly, it can be, the 2,500 could have come from the computer purchase policy, it could have come from another area, it depends on, so from our perspective, I don't know that if the amount is the issue, that certainly is entirely up to council to debate or approve or reject. If it's the policy, then I guess that's an easier one, but certainly the amount was, it's certainly up for debate, and that's why it's obviously brought here.
Okay. Councillor Muse?
I have no problems with the 2,500. I believe, I mean, you're not going to get every employee who's going to be applying for that. You're only going to get the people and the comments saying that they can afford it. If they can afford, they won't go for the 25. If they need the 25 for whatever reason, I think it's good that we are there to offer them that. That's my opinion on that. It's not as if we're giving them $2,500. We're lending them $2,500. And as employees, it's a payroll deduction, you're gonna get it back. It's not as if we're risking, I don't think, anyway. So I would definitely go along with the 2,500. I don't think we should change the amount. Again, that's just my view on that.
Thank you. Charette?
Just finish with just a comment. Again, I have no problem with anybody wanting to stay healthy and, but if you look around businesses in our areas and you look at how many businesses can put money into the pot that people can go in there and, borrow money to buy equipment or whatever, I don't think you'll find very many companies that do that. And, is there similar policies, I wonder, in other municipalities that do that? I can maybe ask that to the CAO.
Yes, there are other municipal units that have certainly done this. Not all of them, obviously, have done that. I think it's really based on the concept that this is basically health. It's health. It's prevention of health issues. Certainly, it's really based on the foundation that if you have an employee who is active, physically active, that it's proven to reduce health related issues, absenteeism. It also reflects on our medical plan. So if you're healthier, you're not into the health plan as considerable as if you're an unhealthy person. So there is an indirect cost savings by investing in the health of your staff people. I certainly can appreciate your comment that not all staff, not all employees are able or consider that an option. So there are some employees that don't have health plans for their staff. Unfortunately, that's there's a wide gap in terms of that. From my personal view, I think it is an investment that I think will return in terms of reduced costs of absenteeism and reduced costs of medical issues. Certainly, that's difficult to measure, but it's been measured outside of our organization and is well documented.
Thank you.
It's part of our strategy, healthy living and active living.
It's certainly part of our active living strategy that was passed, that we implement policies that promote active living. And that can be done in a variety of ways, actually. So this is one way that I guess we're trying to increase active living in our own staff so that we can set an example for the community to be more active.
Yeah. All right.
Just wanted to say, I think you are seeing this more and more in staffs, believe it or not, because as a preventative method, and some staffs even have this equipment, like we have exercise equipment right in our school for our staff. Yeah, because it's a way of relieving stress, right? And in certain professions where there are high stress professions, they are providing this opportunity. I mean, this is for home use, I understand that, but I see where you're coming from, I do. I understand where you're coming from. It's like we're financing their home use equipment. I get that, and it's an uncomfortable kind of a gray area, but yet I also see the point that we are also working towards preventing health issues further down the road, using up the medical, working up, taking from the medical insurance and all that, and trying to get people, as healthy as possible, which fits in with our strategy as well. Yeah. I see both sides.
Thank you.
There's another, and if I may, Mr. Warden, there is another option, and, Councillor Albright had mentioned the fact that they have fitness equipment at their work environment now. Certainly, we don't have the space here, but we might have the opportunity to that might be another option for council to consider in terms of actually looking at workplace wellness and how people can be more active. This particular building is really not. There really isn't a corner that you can hide in terms of having an actual lunch break. Oftentimes, unfortunately, and our active living coordinator says this often, it's bad. You shouldn't eat at your desk, right? Because you're not actually you're not getting away from your work environment. You're not taking a break away, and so your stress levels increase. You're not being physically active. You're seated for another hour, and as a consequence, you're not putting a break in your day. And I'm a runner. So from my perspective, running actually does a lot for my state of mind and is proven to reduce instances of depression, which is very common in work environments where it's not an active work environment. So if you're not comfortable with the personal loan for equipment, there might be something else that you would be comfortable with, which I think would still fall within the strategy of being more active. And maybe you're not comfortable with this one in particular. Maybe you want the wellness policy to engage council in further discussion on that particular policy. That certainly would be welcomed, I think, by the wellness committee, because it's really an engagement. And maybe the solution is that there is an elliptical or a stepper somewhere, maybe in our shed, in a garage somewhere, that somebody would have the opportunity to do that on their break. Rather than have personal equipment at their home. Those types of options, I think, could and would be entertained by that committee, and I do appreciate the concerns that you're raising. It makes perfect sense. But what we're trying to do is develop that environment of healthy living, because we know that will bring benefits to council and to staff's health. So what I'm sensing is that it's the loan piece more than it is the other piece.
Right.
So perhaps you want to, I don't want to, at the risk of doing the warden's job, if you're comfortable with one, then that's fine. Maybe you want to have other options presented to you for the second option. We're happy to do that.
I think the rest of the council is, from what I'm hearing, seems to be we have to vote. And I'm the only one that kind of spoke again, but I don't think I think you should vote on this. Not even, I've heard enough.
Donaldson.
Yeah, well, you're not the only one, Gabe. I agree with it all, but that part, I don't see where a $1,500 loan or less interest fee free is going to stimulate somebody to become active that's not already active. And I don't feel it's, in principle, it's what municipal dollars were meant to be used for, to offer interest-free loans to employees or to anybody else, if that was the case. So that part of it I don't like, but we're 1 and 2 out of 9. Thank you.
Thank you. So what's the wish of council? Do you want to debate this some more, or do you want to have a motion and vote, or?
Does that supply councillors too?
Walking cane?
That's up to council. That would be up to council. This is basically, I think,
Policy is for
this
staff.
was for the workplace, because our sedentary style of work environment is one that doesn't exactly promote physical activity in the workplace, with some exceptions. But that'd be up to council. If you're not comfortable with the second piece, My suggestion would be that we defer a decision on that second piece and have staff re-examine other options. There are other ways to do it. And so if there's, and I can appreciate the discomfort, I get it. And so if you're not comfortable with it, I'd rather you not vote on it. I'd rather you go and think about it, or ask the Wellness Committee to come up with another policy that might be a bit more inclusive, or that would encourage active living. I mean, Councillor Donaldson's point is well taken. That is that actually going to encourage somebody to be more active? And that's the intent. If the answer is, I don't know, maybe it's the wrong policy. So, you know, certainly from my perspective, I'd be more comfortable to defer a decision on that second one and maybe ask the committee to come back and offer other alternatives for that particular one. Or maybe just pass the one and say the other one, let's just revisit that in the future. That's completely, I just wanted to make that point clear, that it's not.
Just want to quickly state, if we vote on this as it is in its current form, I'll be voting against. So I'm not comfortable with the last part, just like Donaldson and Surratt.
I haven't changed my mind yet, but I'd also like to see if there's different, scenarios and things that can come up, so we can kind of, compare apples to apples and see, there might be something out there that's a little bit better and better suited for the whole council, because obviously some of us are, on one side and some of us on the other side, which is, the way it's supposed to be in a debate. But I'd like to see the other options brought forward, and then then we could make a decision. Thank you.
So maybe the thing is to table it. And,
Yeah.
okay.
Table both? Is it all, sorry. I'm just trying to be clear on the three, sorry. So I just want to be clear what we're tabling here.
Do you want
I would only like to table
that part?
Councillor Donaldson and Councillor Long, the last part.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my.
Okay, all right.
The rest is just great.
So we can entertain a motion to approve the bylaw other than that.
So the first piece is the workplace wellness policy, which is a general statement around
Yes.
how we're committed to
Okay.
improve the wellness of our staff. The second is an equipment purchase policy, which is I think the problematic one. And the third is the physical activity incentive policy, which is allowing for a sharing, I guess. So that piece. So if you're prepared to make a motion for 1 and 3 and defer number 2 and you can ask staff, CAO, to come back and maybe re-examine what other municipal units are doing, come back to you with additional information.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
I make a motion to endorse 1 and 3 prior of that.
Okay. Do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded to approve the first and third section. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carried. So we'll
Thank
ask the CAO to bring this up to the wellness clinic. Health and
Definitely. And
clinic, I mean,
the-
committee. Clinic, maybe.
All right, I will make sure that's done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item, tennis court lease agreement.
That's deferred,
That's-
but I can mention very quickly where we're at.
Yeah.
We are in the process. There is some work that I owe the lawyer in order to come up with a document. What we've done is, because council wished to improve the tennis courts of the community, some of them we own, some of them we don't. So there's a lease agreement that's required, and we're 90% or more completed. We will be bringing that to council's attention at the end of June. We'll probably have it to you much earlier than that, much earlier than the meeting. We just would like to get an endorsement from council so that we can move forward with the owner and present to the owner and whether or not they have any issues with it in terms of what the lease actually states. Why do we need a lease? Well, we're doing some substantial renovation on property that we don't own, so we want to be protected. So we want to make sure that from an insurance perspective, any sort of agreement is going to be suitable for our insurance to cover any sort of mishap that could occur, and I guess carefully distinguish legal liability of the two parties being involved in the lease agreement. So those two properties would be an SAR and a Emiros Hill. The other two are owned by ourselves, and so that's pretty standard issue.
Yeah.
So just that's the update at this time, and that will come back at the end of June.
All right. Dangerous and unsightly policy. I think this is kind of something that we want to bring up, and it's kind of housekeeping to give our director, John, the power to do his job, I guess, partly.
It's essentially delegating the authority to
Yeah.
issue premise orders to the administrator as designated by myself. This is a standard policy a lot of municipalities do approve. It does not eliminate the responsibility of council in instances of dangerous and unsightly that must, that are finalized or that are brought to a demolition. The demolition of property is always and cannot be delegated by council. It's always a responsibility of council to make that decision. What we're doing here is we're essentially updating our policy to make sure that it's clearly defined, that council is designating, in this case, I would designate John Sullivan, who would be responsible to communicate with those that have dangerous and unsightly premises, giving them 15 days, 30 days, etc., to clean their property. So there is a process that we go through that is controlled by Public Works. We have a policy that is dated as well that we're going to be updating. And so I would recommend, this has actually been given notice to council, and of course, Monsieur Boudreau has been involved in the preparation of this document. We've not created this from scratch. We have some model bylaws and policies that we have carefully considered in the evolution of this document.
Donaldson,
He just answered my question.
thank you.
This isn't a standalone policy. It's-
No, sir. It's
No.
actually, it's taken from, I think the municipality Yarmouth's policy, we really followed to a large extent, and of course we have model policies. Excuse me, at the UNSM level, that we have also consulted in doing this. But
Yeah.
this actually is a lot more detailed. It actually gives a bit more of a step-by-step approach as to how your development officer will be approaching the dangerous and unsightly instances. I don't know if the solicitor has anything to add to that.
This is as much a procedure as it is policy. This is a procedural and policy matters, because a lot of the times when issues of unsightly and dangerous premises or dangerous and unsightly premises comes up, which they do only periodically, they don't happen every month, for example. It happens maybe every second or third year. We start scratching our heads and are seeking our own advice as to how to proceed. So we thought it wise perhaps to set out not only in policy form the issue of the appointment of the administrator, but also in policy form the procedure to be followed, and trying to anticipate as many scenarios as reasonably possible as to where it goes once the order is given by the administrator. So it's a procedure as well as policy in this situation.
Thank you. Charette?
I'd like to move that we accept or we adopt the policy of dangerous and unsightly policy.
Seconded.
Councillor Muse?
Just a question on the, it says the complaint shall be received in writing. In other words, like, if someone comes to us with as counsel, they would have to put it in writing to you. A lot of people complain, don't want to be identified, publicly, because usually what you get from complaints are people that either live right close to that, right? And they find it very difficult, because I know the couple complaints that I have received, I was asked, you know, can you do this without saying exactly who complained? Is that going to be a problem where we won't get the complaints? Or is that something that we as councillors, if we see something ourselves, that we should bring it up, you know, on our own? I'm just curious in how that is going to work, because I know they don't want to create hard feelings with their neighbors, is what happens, so. It's a question anyway.
Thank you.
That's a really good question, and we considered that as part of the process. And what we find is we want to try to strike a balance between the anonymity. Obviously, we don't want hard feelings between neighbors. In fact, we're actually very fortunate to have good neighbors for the most part. People generally have a good sense of each other's space, but there's always the exception. And we don't want to create more hardship for our residents. On the other hand, we don't want it to be too easy for somebody to come and say, look, somebody's lawn doesn't look very good. Because what is unsightly is a matter of judgment. And sometimes some people are reasonable in their judgment, and other times not so much. So we do want to discourage the fly-by-night complaint, because it does actually cost money. It costs money to address the complaint. And you're actually asking people to change the nature of their property, which we have the right to do, but we take very seriously. And so we don't necessarily, like, we don't have standards for housing in rural Argyll, right? We're not, you know, we don't tell people how to paint their house, and we're very, you know, we're rural. So there is a certain element of, okay, we're out in the country, there should be some flexibility. But we do have properties that are completely unacceptable. So we're trying to find that balance, and we think the written piece will discourage the fly-by-night, but at the same time, we don't want to necessarily discourage the person too shy to come out. So I would suspect that communication with the councillor would be a key piece there. I don't know what the solicitor, Boudreau, would say about a councillor actually submitting a complaint to be in the system on behalf of residents. Then you'd have a complainant. I don't know from a legal perspective how that would work.
The policy in 3.3A states that the complaint shall be received in writing. It doesn't say that it has to be signed by the complainant. It doesn't say that it is to be, and who is to do the writing. That was probably drafted in a broad manner for that purpose, so that there can be a little bit of a judgment call. But immediately thereafter in B, it says that the administrator shall cause a visit to be undertaken. I won't read the whole thing. And then C, upon the complaint being determined to be valid by the administrator. So there's a process. That simply initiates the process. It's clearly that the complaint need not necessarily be signed. There could be an intake sheet. I'm not sure. We didn't go into that detail when drafting the policy, but there could be an intake sheet, and away you go. And it's somewhat similar to complaints being received by peace officers. They don't necessarily receive complaints in writing. They receive them over the phone, but they document them. I think the important part is that there be a trail of the complaint. When it started, it's dated, when it started, and away you go. I don't think that at that point in the process, it's important to identify the complainant necessarily. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Donaldson?
And I've had a chance to read it all here now. And there's the appeal system where there's been the complaint, the administrator's gone out, and it comes down to what's, I'm talking unsightly here, not dangerous, unsightly. So it's could be an argument between one might think it's unsightly and the owner may not, right? So if the one that's being complained on decides to appeal it, it's council, I understand, that will make the decision to go with further action?
There's an order to be issued, if I may, Mr. Ward, there's an order to be issued by the administrator, and then the property owner has an opportunity to appear before council in order to have that redetermined, if you will. Yeah, it's a sort of an appeal process, absolutely.
And how long do we see this before it's enacted, this policy? Are we talking months?
This policy would be enacted the moment you put a motion in play today. Actually technically
Because
passing of the minutes, but.
I probably got one of the most active situations right now, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
We
okay.
would, from a practical perspective, you've received notice of the policy. There's no requirement under a policy to go public hearing or anything. That's a bylaw process. You've received this a week before the meeting. If you're happy with this, you've made a motion. If it's passed, it will be implemented as soon as possible.
That Part 15 of the Act has always been there since 1998 or 1999. This simply sets out your procedure, your own in-house procedure as to how to deal with it. So really, from a legal standpoint, nothing has changed. And there's a catch-all one at the end there, notwithstanding everything else. You got and that I remember having a conversation with the lawyer at the Department of Justice about that particular section in the Act. It's that where there are circumstances where you, as counsel, say, hey, this needs to be vetted out by a justice of the Supreme Court of Nova Scotia because it's way too complicated even for us. You can always have that. You, as counsel, have that option to go there as well.
Okay, thank you. LeBlanc?
I just want to point out that I think this would be an effective tool. One thing I noticed, just to give an example, let's say in the mornings I often go to the coffee shop at the museum in Wedgeport. So a bunch of old fishermen, yakking about this and yakking about that. They like to tease me, you should do this and you should do that and put some dirt here and this and that. And they're teasing me more so than anything, but sometimes it's hard to decipher, how serious you should take someone's comments or not. So 90% of the time it's more to poke fun at me more than anything, but if someone were serious and I took it in the wrong way, it's hard to judge. Well, this way, if there's a formal way of actually submitting a complaint to the municipality, it's quite effective in measuring if the person was actually serious and actually not. And I've also noticed that it is comfortable for someone to call you, especially if they know you well, and say, well, you should look into this. But if they're really not serious enough to quickly write it on a piece of paper, even that deciphers how serious they are compared from a phone call to, a simple form. If it's actual something that matters to them that much, they'll take the time to write it on a piece of paper. I personally don't have any trouble bringing that form, driving it for them to the municipal building. If that's what bothers them, the gas or the money or whatnot, I personally don't mind making that service to them. So I think this will just help councillors be able to figure out whether it's a serious inquiry or not. And I believe, just to make it clear, I think if someone wished to remain anonymous or at least no further than the councillor himself, I believe he should be able to maintain that. We live in relatively small communities. You wouldn't want hard feelings.
Thank you. Muse?
And that's a good point there, Councillor Blanc. If we even if we had some kind of a set form, that if they complain to us, we could say, okay, let's fill this out. Let's fill this form out. Then it's a document that we have that they don't have to sit there and write a letter saying, that might be a good way to have it as well.
That's the plan.
That way we could bring it to them, and as long as they put their name or they fill out that form, then it's the same. Especially if they don't need a signature, like Rael said. As long as we have something to keep track, then that would do it that way, and it might be easier for them as well.
And be kept on file.
And be kept on file. Then we know that it's a formal complaint.
Yeah.
I should note that there has been formal documentation of complaints. I think it just formalizes the process. So I fully, my expectation will be that council will know where these forms are located, and that the forms will be re-examined, revised if need be, and that Public Works will deal with that the way that you've suggested.
All right. So we have a motion on the floor all this time. Huh?
I got one more comment. Personally, I consider emails that are sent to me, complaints, I'm going to always consider them as being legitimate complaints. That will be the written notice I will probably pass on. And for example, last night, even private messaging on Facebook, there was one lady had an issue with dog poo at the park, our new swim area. and she wanted how to handle it, and I told her to get in contact with the superintendent of the park first, and if that didn't get no satisfaction, bring it back to me. Well, the park superintendent's gonna put signage up, and it was taken care of, like, so it doesn't always have to be physical pieces of paper.
Thank you.
Question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. 2013 council priorities. So these are the priorities that we have set, basically.
We, at the last meeting, we'd suggested that maybe we do a survey, online survey. That was done. We received your feedback, and what you have in front of you are the number one, I guess, the top priorities that council would like to see executed based on your individual answers. So the priorities to complete and release the Argyle Economic Development Plan and set recommendations to execute the objectives. Join the council's priority is to play a lead role in developing the new REN group and get it running by late fall of 2013. Fingers crossed. That's kind of slightly out of our hands, but we will work for that. Council's priority is to continue its recruitment efforts locally and regionally in partnership with the municipality and district health authority for doctor recruitment. Council's priority is to provide financial support for the NSIFP in an effort to restore ferry operation by 2014. And council priority was to upgrade 4 tennis multi-use courts in Saint-Anne-de-Ruisseau, Wedgeport, Pubnico, and Emeralds Hill. It was identified as facility upgrades. And the final is council's priority is to complete the report by July, this is where you saw that, and present the results to the community for their input on the Wedgeport sewer system. Those were the top 5. The economic development priorities were considered the most popular by the group. I didn't put them in any particular order on the document, or we did not put in any particular order in the document, but I think it reflects, economic development being number 1 actually reflects council's highest vote in terms of priority. So I present this document for you for debate, refusal, or approval. But this is a collection of your individual votes.
So move to accept the council priorities as presented.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Heritage Advisory Committee appointment.
We need a raise.
I think we,
Have you actually had meeting?
Not in 4 years. Kathy, right? Never
what
been.
was this?
I was on there forever and ever and ever, and I think we had 1 or 2.
Okay.
Just
So
trying
this
to
is something that
some
was brought
problems.
up again by the chair, Susan Young?
Yes. The chair has indicated that this particular committee has not met in quite some time. It really meets only on a as-needed basis. So its purpose is to either register municipal heritage properties or consider deregister of municipal heritage properties. That doesn't happen very often. But there seems to be 2 or 3 properties in Tusket that have surfaced, one being the St. Stephen's Church, that I know that Councillor Muse is aware of, that there is some heritage registration on that property, and there are 2 other homes, I believe. One of them was recently there's a recent transaction, recent sale. So, and I'm unsure as to its status in terms of heritage, but there has been some questions around whether it's considered to be, or could consider to be, a municipal heritage property. So these questions are going to Peter Kroll, and of course the chair of the Heritage Committee is seeing that there seems to be some activity in this area, and so she would like to renew the committee. We don't have a policy at this time. We have one in draft, but not passed, that deals with how we appoint committee members. At this point, the CAO has been asked to bring it to council. The motion the suggested motion included in the document is suggested by the chair. And of course, Peter Kroll has been involved in this process and certainly has indicated his support. those committee members or resident members, non-council members that were on the committee prior to have been those that did not want to continue. That was confirmed. So there was either one that had a health issue, and a second other commitments could not continue. So some of these new names, like we didn't just ignore the old ones. We actually checked to make sure that they were okay to move on.
I'll make that a motion. We appoint the so named members to the Heritage Advisory Committee. Susan Young, Chair, Roy Wood, Carol Jafford, Catherine Guerra, Amir, Daniel Jafford as members of the Heritage Advisory Committee.
Seconded.
And the 2 councillors have already been appointed.
Okay, you heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Houndkeeper appointment. That's, I guess, SPCA?
Yes, sir.
We
Just
normally
housekeeping.
appoint.
Mhm.
And we didn't do it at our annual meeting.
Correct. So would recommend that the SPCA be designated
Yeah,
as,
that's what we recommend, and if somebody wants to so
I'll make the
move.
motion.
Moved and seconded. All, that the SPCA be our pound keeper. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. UNSM Aquaculture Advisory Committee application endorsement. Yeah, they're seeking a member of council. Do they have, are they seeking members from across the province? Are they seeking applications?
they have asked for councillors to submit their name.
Yes, right. I
And
saw that sometimes ago, yeah.
Councillor Murphy has indicated that he is interested, and I understand that he has made an application, and I had suggested it should probably come to council for council's endorsement. There's no cost to the municipality for his involvement, and he may or may not be selected. It's a selection process, right? So I'm sure.
Do we need, did you want to speak to that, or? No.
I put my application in.
Yeah.
Whether I be accepted or not, I don't know. There is no cost to the municipality.
No, that's right, yeah.
The province takes care of whatever for mileage or what have you, if I have to go to a meeting, wherever.
The province or UNSM?
Well, UNSM.
Yeah.
UNSM takes care of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
You would be representing UNSM.
yes, so it would be at no cost to the
Yeah,
municipality.
yeah. Deputy.
I just wanted to say that I looked at this one and I thought it was very interesting because of, we do have aquaculture in the municipality. We are from, a fishing background. Councillor Murphy has a fishing background, fish buying background. So I make the motion that we, I guess, give him permission to put his name in.
Yeah.
So we're supporting you if you are selected.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll second that, if nobody has.
let me know.
I was just gonna make the motion myself. I think Councillor Murphy would be great for this position.
You heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next item is summer meetings. I guess traditionally, we've canceled our regular council meetings for July and August. And if needed, usually the warden can call a meeting if we need one. So I don't know what the council is prepared to do, or do you want to cancel the meetings for?
I make a motion that we stay as same as we've always done. And if needed, and we have to have an emergency meeting, that you will call the meeting for sure also, and we will be there. So I make a motion that we do the same as previous years.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Do we need a motion if we're staying status quo?
It's not status quo, it's,
No.
well, it's, if we do a
Do we
year,
need- Oh, yearly assessment?
a
Okay.
yearly, yeah,
Apologies.
yeah.
And generally, we end up having at least one committee of the whole. if not
Something,
more.
yeah,
In August,
yeah. Okay, you heard the motion. All those in favour signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Correspondence and for information, Municipality of Yarmouth Shared Services.
Mr. Warden, I know this has come up to council before, so I want to first apologize for bringing it a second time. I know that the amalgamation piece was a non-starter in the discussion, but I did receive a question, and I didn't know how to answer it, and because there were actually two pieces to the request, and I didn't have enough clarity. So I guess I'm asking council to give me that clarity, I guess. The municipality of Yarmouth, and the town and possibly additional municipal units to establish an arm's length process to examine financials, data, and to seek public input to determine whether or not amalgamation, now that piece was clear, and or an additional sharing of services is in the mutual interest of the Yarmouth and its partner municipal units. Now this is a motion that was passed at the municipality of Yarmouth's council table. They are, I think, interested in talking particularly to the town in terms of amalgamation. I think they've been verbally, it's been shared verbally that Argyle was not prepared to discuss that at this time. But the shared services piece was, I didn't think, it wasn't clear. So that's why it's here. So council would have the option to consider whether or not they would be interested in that discussion, because it is a different discussion, and I just didn't want to miss that from your point of view. I don't have any more. Sorry, I don't have any more information than that.
No, we just need to answer, to reply to their letter.
Well, when it comes to shared services, I think we should always have our eyes open and look at all the possibilities. Are we going to put somebody on this committee or group or whatever, or are we going to let the municipality, Yarmouth, and the town come up with options for us? I guess how are we going to proceed? I guess that's my question. How do we go about this? But shared services definitely something we should keep our eyes open for.
Thank you. Charette?
I believe that the first part, and the CEO is right. I agree with Councillor D'Entremont that shared services certainly is an interest, but there's no question. Let's say it was the CEO or our warden or the deputy warden that would go to these meetings. Certainly, amalgamation is going to be spoken at that same time. Not even a question. You're going to be involved in that discussion. It's just that you'll bring our point across. Amalgamation is not on the table, but shared services is. And I certainly agree with keeping our eyes open if we can have shared services. So I would vote on, if there is a vote, I will vote to sharing services.
I don't know if this would proceed like with having a meeting of the three councils, all of councils at a meeting to discuss this, or what, it's hard to say. But we can always, let them know that we're interested in shared services. But
Yeah, I think
how are they going to proceed, we don't know.
it's difficult to know what exactly they have planned.
Yeah.
I can say that thanks to council, I will be attending a meeting next week on, it's actually it's a provincial meeting on shared services, best practices, how do the costs get allocated, which services actually work well from a shared service perspective. Certainly, shared service is not only something that you've identified in your strategy as something that you're going to look at in the future, because we have to, quite frankly. But it's also something that's being pushed very hard at the UNSM level, because they recognize that there are certain types of services that could easily benefit the taxpayers if they were considered shared. So, I could bring back that information to benefit the area, I would suspect. In terms of what they have in mind at the town and municipal level, I think there's only one way to find out, and it's to at least participate initially and see what the discussions are. And I'm really not sure who they want involved in that
Yeah.
discussion. It's very preliminary.
Mayor, Warden, and CAOs, that's what it says the first one.
Donaldson?
Yeah, we have always been, over the years, sharing a lot of different things, services, whatnot, with Yarmouth. But if they're considering like sharing, like one recreation department or one building inspector, and for me, building inspector should be something that should be contracted out anyhow, but that's a different argument. And services like that, if you do that, at some point, it's mute to have. I mean, it's about government. I mean, what are you governing after a while? I mean, the province is gonna take the school board money and whatever percentage of our budget goes to the provincial government anyhow. So but if you let all these services go, what are you actually governing after a while? So you have to be careful on sharing too much, I guess, is what my point would be.
Thank you.
Roundabout way,
Yeah.
I got it out after a while.
Well, so do we want the CAO to
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
just,
In our mayor, in our board.
no, just send them a letter that,
Oh, I'm sorry.
in response to their letter? Or contact, or?
Have you already responded?
No, we've
No?
responded verbally on the amalgamation, that was a non-starter. But when the discussion went on shared service, and wait a minute, let's be sure about that.
Yeah.
I didn't want
We
to speak
didn't
for
know
council because I didn't have your word.
Yeah,
So,
so we'll let them know we're interested.
I go listen and keep your eyes open,
Oh, yeah.
your ears open, and see what's going on.
Well, we've been doing it anyway, so it's just a continuation of,
Makes sense.
So what I'll do is I'll respond, if it's the consensus of council, I'll respond by amalgamation is non-starter, but that the warden and the CEO will attend the initial meeting and see, and then make a decision.
yeah,
Is that,
Consensus.
okay? Heart and Stroke Foundation, National Health and Fitness Day. What are you looking for, a proclamation? Yeah,
we don't typically do those
Huh?
anymore. We don't typically do those. It's
We don't do those no more. We-
No.
mostly for information.
Resolution,
Yeah.
motion years ago.
yeah,
It's just for information.
that's right. And Department of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal, Fort Crescent, Sim Road, Safes Road and Comeau Hill Road, the response from the minister. Of course, we've had some other information and discussion since then, with the engineer, and maybe we should, instead of going to the minister right away, sometimes it's better to deal locally. Yeah. YASTA By-Laws.
This was initially put for decision, but I didn't want to necessarily rush council on that decision. I think council should first be aware of the major changes that are being proposed.
Yeah.
From my point of view, we're adding another member, which certainly does add a financial component to YASTA, that there was an additional member being added. The terms of their office, I guess, is more properly defined. There is an out clause that has been adjusted. So typically you have a 6-month to a 1-year advance notice that you're leaving an organization such as this. That's 24 months in the new bylaws. There's nothing here that talks about minimum funding standards or anything like that. It's really, there's not a lot of I guess, instruction, or it doesn't mandate us to make minimum payment as an organization to YASTA. I think it's probably worthwhile to absorb this information a little bit, look at the changes, and think about how that might impact decisions that are made at the YASTA table. Each municipal unit has to approve these bylaws, And I would like to have the opportunity to speak with the solicitor about some of the implications of the changes. So I know that the solicitor was involved at the very beginning of this process, but at this point, I brought it to council's attention, and upon reflection, I felt that it was probably a little premature, and that we would have a discussion around it, a decision around that at the next meeting, not at this one.
Okay.
So council can have a discussion today, or can choose to defer, but that was my concern, that I felt that it needed a little bit more time for our solicitor to examine the document, be comfortable with it.
Great.
Just one quick comment, and I know we will not defer to the next meeting, but reading it, I found it, they couldn't get a quorum with 8 people. How the heck are they going to get a quorum with 13? That was, to me, I couldn't, maybe there's something I don't see, but I saw that they couldn't get, they were having a hard time to get a quorum with 8.
Maybe appoint people that go to
13.
meetings.
Well, that's another thing. Why don't appoint 8 people that'll go to the meeting instead of trying to appoint 13 and have another point that won't go? But anyway, it's just a comment.
Thank you. Financial request, district community grants.
On these community grants, just wonder if the council would want to, they're all the same, instead of going through everyone, the same thing, everyone, one by one.
The amounts might not be the same.
The amounts might be
Yeah.
the same. All right. Fine.
Yeah. Royal Canadian Legion, Wedgeport. First one.
Yeah, the Royal Canadian Legion has made a request to our district community grants for an amount of $500, and I'd like to make a motion that we grant them this request.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Patchwork Pals.
They are requesting $500 for district community grant, and I make the motion that we approve that request.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Green Grove Cemetery Association.
So moved. You just keep giving me the same letter now.
The amount
So
of
move what?
500, yep.
What was that? So move what?
500.
Change the date. That's what they do.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Association des Clermont de Villars Fitzgerald Harris et Jacquard.
And you were beat.
Move to deny.
They're looking for a district community grant of $500 to help them with their with the rock, St. Peter's Rock.
Yeah.
For their trail. So I move the motion to grant them that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Comeau's Hill and Little River Harbor Recreation Association.
That's another one that I contribute to every year. It's for the Recreation Association for the beach, and
That's a great place.
nice place, huh?
Went there.
Yeah. And so that it helps them with their porta potty that they get them from, and so I move that we allow that there to happen.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Festival Acadien de Wedgeport.
That's another one, I guess that was a
Okay.
from Cyril. It's for the gazebo that they have in Upper Westport.
Yes.
And it was vandalized through the winter a bit, and they're asking for a district community grant of $500, and I'd like to give them that if I could.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Club des Acadiens Seniors de Wedgeport.
Yes, the group of seniors called the Clivedias Academy Senior Westport are requesting a district community grant of $500. It doesn't specify here, but I believe, just to add, they're looking to purchase, if they have not already, a little iffy here, a cot for, they meet at the fire hall and they'd like a cot due to the fact that they have quite a few elderly, obviously, the seniors, the Westport, attending. They've had health issues in the past where they've actually needed the use of a bed to help an ailing senior, I guess. So that's what they're looking to use the money for. I'll
They
make,
say you pay their rent.
well, there you go. I received 2 letters actually, and the reason I was kind of confused on this, we had held them back until the budgets were done. And I believe they may have got provincial funding, now that I'm seeing this, to help pay the rent. They may have got provincial funding for the cot. I knew the cot was either coming or looking to be purchased, so I guess it's for the rent. I'll make the motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Wedgeport Tuna Museum.
We took that one off.
Right. Yes, I did scratch it off here. Yeah, we still have community grants, another community grant for the Pubnico Point Trail.
Yeah, if I may, Warden Dothram, that's Pubnico Point Trail, who are busy, I guess, starting up the project. So far, we've been able to assemble $25,000 through the good work of the committee. And they're looking for a district community grant for $500 to buy materials such as pit run and gravel and boardwalks and all that stuff, good stuff. So I'll make that a motion, $500.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next one is Pubnico Church. I think you're looking for $500 too.
Yeah.
Spent about $75,000 on the roof.
Yeah, okay.
Saint Pierre, right.
500.
Yeah.
Somebody will have
Can't make a motion.
Can't make a motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Then
Mr.
there's,
Warden, could I just add something quickly?
yeah,
Just something that Councillor Dartmouth said about the Pubnico Trail. One of the guys felt in Dartmouth. He got a hold of myself and our waste park manager, where we have the shingles that are brought into the waste park. And we did some investigation, and maybe the shingles can be used, chopped up and used into the walk, into the pads they're making, or the walk, the trail.
the trail.
And use that. They've been using them in Lunenburg. And with gravel, what happens is when you walk on it, you might make a footpad, but it'll come back, decompress back to the same
Yeah.
thing as it was. It makes softer on the legs and that. I just want to add that on, and it will save our municipality some money if we can divert some of those shingles instead of going to the landfill. If we divert that to something like that, we can use it as diversion credits. I just want to add that in.
Thank
It's
you.
very good at Felton calling us on that.
Thank you.
Said it makes them waterproof after too.
Yeah. You had another
25 years?
community grant.
Take the nails out.
Take the nails out.
Take the nails out, right.
Another district community grant for District 5.
Yep, from the Beetlebrook and District Fire Department. They're requesting $500 for startup costs to get their fundraising efforts in place through barbecues. They need the money to get going, so I would make the motion to support that request.
Second that.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next item, notice of motion by councillors. Anybody have a notice of motion for a future meeting? If not, we'll go on to question period. Any questions from the public? You good, Tina?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
My son went to soccer game, but I can't do that. Actually, just
Make a
one
few
question.
phone calls if you like.
Just going back to the wellness discussion you had earlier, what, ballpark, what's the number of staff that would benefit from your wellness policy?
18?
We would be not quite 18, 17. Well, it could be 17. Part and full. We actually have a policy on computer purchase. It's similarly drawn to encourage people to increase their skills, computer skills at the home. That one's actually been in place for quite some time, probably at a time when the computers were perhaps less prevalent in our area. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Guess we'll entertain a motion to go in camera. Moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye?